let's hear from Jeff Sessions. This is a clip of his announcement today that the Trump administration will be arguing, or I should say, rolling back DACA. This is the Deferred Action on Childhood Arrivals. In other words, children who came to this country because their parents brought them along, right? Maybe they were 3, maybe they were an infant, maybe they were 10, maybe they were 12, maybe they were 15. Children who came to this country and who have been in this country. And the percentages on what these children have been doing, 95% of DACA recipients under the Obama administration, if you qualified, you would go to immigration officials. You would give them your info. You would give them proof of what you've been doing. There are 800,000 people. Under this program, you are allowed to live and work lawfully in the United States. But you have to check in. Does not provide a path to citizenship. And you have to check in repeatedly, or regularly, I should say. 95% of DACA recipients are working or in school. 48% got a better job with or a job with better working conditions after they became DACA compliant. 63% got a better paying job. 90% got a driver's license or state ID. 54% bought their first car. 12% bought their first home. And these are people who haven't been to their countries of their origin in some instances, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They are American. Many don't speak Spanish. So sending them back to a Spanish-speaking country would be basically like, well, not killing them, but I think in some instances, getting sent to some, particularly like Honduras or whatnot. I'm not sure of, but it is just look at your own kid and imagine if you were just to drop them in some town in Mexico that is completely random to them. So DACA was created, the program, by the Obama administration, basically by saying, as a matter of prosecutorial discretion, we are not going to go after children or people who came to this country as a child by no decision of their own and are not committing any crimes in this country. And we're going to give them a work visa. And that became known as DACA. There was an attempt to get bills passed. Republicans would not pass a DREAM Act, which would have ensconced this in statutory, would have been law in this country, as opposed to essentially regulatory discretion. It's an administrative policy. Very similar to administrative policies like, we will not go into states and arrest people who are smoking pot when it's legal in the states, even though federal law says you cannot smoke marijuana. Or we will not track down every senior citizen who has purchased drugs from Canada in violation of federal law. Why don't we do that? Because we have limited resources. All right, so here is Jeff Sessions. We're going to put aside the morality for a moment of this. We're going to put aside the economics of this. Let's just hear Jeff Sessions justify why they are reversing this policy.
I'm here today to announce that the program known as DACA that was effectuated under the Obama administration is being rescinded. The DACA program was implemented in 2012 and essentially provided a legal status for recipients for a renewable 2-year term, work authorization, and other benefits, including participation in the Social Security program to 800,000 mostly adult illegal aliens. The policy was implemented unilaterally to great controversy and legal concern after Congress rejected legislative proposals to extend similar benefits on numerous occasions to this same group of illegal aliens. In other words, the executive branch, through DACA, deliberately sought to achieve what the legislative branch specifically refused to authorize on multiple occasions. Such an open-ended circumvention of immigration laws was an unconstitutional exercise of authority by the executive branch.
Pause it for 1 second. First off, as a matter of law, that is incorrect. First of all, Jeff Sessions, that has not been ruled unconstitutional. Jeff Sessions is not capable of making that assessment unilaterally. You need a court to make that determination. But the Supreme Court has ruled quite often that just because you have a dispute and you have executive authority that may that is legitimate but may run contrary or not even necessarily contrary. It's not necessarily, there's no problem with statute here, direct statute. But just because you have this type of relationship between Congress and the president does not make it unconstitutional on its face. But we will continue.
Branch. The effect of this unilateral executive amnesty, among other things, contributed to a surge of minors at the southern border that yielded terrible humanitarian consequences.
Pause it.
It also did.
That's not what contributed to the surge of minors. What contributed to the surge of minors was Honduras becoming the most dangerous place in the world to live. Period. The murder capital of the world. Continue. That's that it? So the lies that they're having to put out here, because here's the bottom line. And we should say, in terms of the authority, it is clear that the government, the executive branch, has the authority to create policies around discretion in terms of where resources are spent, right? I mean, it's quite obvious. You look at it in terms of whether or not the federal government is going to go after people who are smoking pot in states that make it legal, or even people smoking pot in states that make it illegal. If the federal government wanted to nail pot smokers, they could send out teams of people into college dormitories all around the country, and they'd be busy 24/7. They don't do that. And there's a policy that we don't do that. And then the authority to give working permits is based on a 1986 law that specifically permits employment of aliens who are authorized to be employed by the Attorney General. So now, the Trump administration certainly can reverse this policy. They are well within their rights to do so. But to claim they're doing it because of the law is a lie. To claim that they're doing it because this policy brought a surge 3 years ago of kids from countries where the danger of them being killed was so extreme is just a lie. This is, and the 6 month waiting for Congress to do this is basically just their way of showing cowardice. We're going to pretend this is not on us. We're going to pretend that we're obligated by the law. Now, there's a lawsuit that has been filed by about 10 states, conservative states, with conservative race-mongering attorney generals that are trying to sue the Trump administration or have threatened to sue the Trump administration if they don't reverse this policy. But if you really want to know the answer to the question, is this constitutional, let that lawsuit go forward. Defend the administration's right to do this. But they won't do it. So as a matter of law, their argument is BS. As a matter of consequence, their argument is BS. As a matter of keeping us safe, their argument is BS. As a matter of economics, their argument is BS. Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos